Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Somatic Coaching Academy live here today. My name is Brian Trzaskos. I'm the Director of Education here at the Somatic Coaching Academy. Thanks so much for taking a few moments to check in with a question that is burning on our minds today. Is your body pain all in your head? So, this is an interesting question because the short answer is it depends on who you ask. And there's a lot of different theories and understandings about how our reality is created, where pain is generated from, but there's some amazing new science that starts to answer these questions. All right, so is your body pain all in your head? Well, I can tell you this with a large degree of certainty that if we didn't have a head, we wouldn't experience body pain. So, does that mean it's all in your head? No, but it means your head has something to do with it, obviously, and your body also has something to do with it. Now, there's also some science to show that the way that our brain processes information from our body, oftentimes, our brain will determine that those sensations that are coming in from our soma is our body, that information that's coming in from our soma can be judged as being threatening. And when our brain judges something as being threatening, it projects out onto our body and our experience what we would call pain. So you think about something like phantom limb pain. So phantom limb pain is an experience that some people have after they have lost a limb to amputation. God forbid someone loses an arm or a leg to amputation, and sometimes people will describe pain, burning, tightness, squeezing, something with a sensory phenomenon in the area of their body where the limb is no longer attached to. Like if they had their hand amputated, they would say that they have pain out in space where their hand was, or out in space where their foot was. So if we follow the old idea that we have sensors in our body that bring pain information up into our brain. Like, how is that possible? Because the sensors aren't there anymore. In this case, the brain is projecting out onto the body a pain experience that is real to the person, but it's disconnected from the physiology of the area that they're reporting pain in. So, in that way, is pain all in someone's head? Well, no. There's still a physiological experience going on inside of their body. However, their brain has something to do with the generation of the pain. So, our body's built on what we call sensory in, motor out neurology. We have sensory information come up into the brain, and then our brain will create motor output phenomenons in the way of muscle contraction, vascular contraction, lymphatic mobility. Something will happen the way our brain outputs motor information from the central nervous system. Our spinal cord can do that too, by the way. So you can start to see it starts to get a little bit complex, but on a very high level, we know that pain is not input into the brain. Pain is most definitely output from the brain when there is some type of programming in our subconscious mind that determines whatever sensory experience we're having is threatening. Again, some people, two people can have identical paper cuts on their fingers, and one person will say that is painful. The other person won't even notice that it's there. This happens in all levels of walks of life, right? I mean, some people show up in the emergency rooms in terrible pain with very little physically going on compared to some people who don't even realize that they have some catastrophic thing going on in their body and they're not having any pain at all. So we can see that pain experiences vary greatly from person to person either even. They are a little more consistent culturally though, if you think about it. Like certain cultures have a high investment in pain, other cultures have a low investment in pain. So it also depends on what culture you were raised in, which gets us to the point now is that pain is a somatic phenomenon. pain is something that gets programmed into our system, not pain itself, but the way we process information and the likelihood that we will judge it threatening or non-threatening is a way that we're programmed. Because the way that we judge our somatic experience is whether or not we'll call it painful or not painful. Whether that somatic experience has to do with something that's overtly physical, like cutting your finger, or something that has to do with something like heartbreak, which doesn't look physical, but if we took scans of the body, there would be changes around the heart, actually, in the way of muscle contractions, blood flow changes. When we experience emotional distress, we also still have physiological correlations to that. So we're not just living in our heads solely all of the time, but I will say that our brain, our subconscious mind specifically, filters all of the information that's brought up into it from the body. And the way that those filters in our subconscious mind work is they are so astute and so expert at filtering out things that we have not been programmed with, but also altering information that's coming in order to meet the program that we already have. So, there's a lot going on in our brain, which oftentimes we talk about as being our head. But there's also a tremendous amount going on in our heart and down in our gut also. So we have large complexes of neurons around our heart and in our gut as well. And sometimes they call this the brain of the body, or the body brain in other areas. Now, these areas of our body, they don't compute rational decision making the way our neocortex does, but they send information up into our brain that can influence how our neocortex works. So in a lot of ways, what's happening in our body is a major influencer of how we're thinking about what's going on in our experience. And this definitely has to do with the idea of pain. So in short, or I guess in long, the answer to the question is pain all in your head? It still depends on who you ask and how you're talking about it. The way I like to talk about it is saying that pain is an experience that we have holistically. So it's a pain, it's an experience that we have in our bodies, it's an experience that happens through neural constructs in our brain and in our head. It's also something that we potentially experience between people, outside of ourselves, relationally and energetically. So pain is a holistic phenomenon. It doesn't just happen in our heads according to the way I think about this, but then again, nothing really does. Pain is simply a somatic experience that we're judging as being threatening, and that's why we're calling it painful. So I hope that this live was intriguing to you, if not totally confusing. There's so much science here. I love talking about it. If you want to talk more about it, please reach out and let us know. Pop some stuff down in the chat down below. And if you are a person who wants to become trained in how to use these things more proficiently with your clients, check us out at the Somatic Coaching Academy, and we'd love to help you do just that. All right, everybody, thanks for spending a couple minutes with me. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Bye-bye.